Oh, what's up, GameLeapers? It's the Cum, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about builds that are going to be broken in patch 13.5, 10 of them. And if you do find these videos interesting, make sure you smash that like button down below. And also, guys, if you do want to master these champions and the roles you play them in, check out the GameLeap website. I'm sick of saying it every single video. If you actually do want to improve quickly on the Rift and apply some challenger tips, we have some red hot videos for you on our website that are uploaded daily by challenger players and coaches from around the world. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into these 10 builds. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about just like an item rush on a champion. So if I mention the new Cosmic Drive, which is giving you 90 AP now, what champion do you think is really going to froth this next patch? This is going to be Vladimir. And yes, rushing this item is going to be super busted. So if you're going something like Cosmic Drive into Rocket Belt, into Night Harvester, something like this, I think Vladimir is going to be one of the top tier champions in the game. He's actually one of like the few AP bruisers, or I guess like battle mages, who can make use of this item, along with maybe a couple of others. Silas might be one. But yeah, for Vlad, the extra AP in the item is unreal because it procs your Crimson Pact and also means that you'll be hitting harder through your abilities. This is going to be a huge patch for Vladimir. The mid lane as well, there aren't too many like ranged champions who are that strong at the moment. So if we think about like Syndra, Orianna, Victor, they might be kind of okay during the laning phase, but they're not scary enough to actually stop you doing what you want to do on this champion. I did mention in yesterday's video though, if you're going to play Vladimir, please make sure, guys, you don't skill anything at level 2 and level 3 until you know where the enemy jungler is, or until you know it's safe, I guess. Then you can skill your E or put another point in your Q. You just want to skill your pool if you're going to get ganked, right? So don't skill anything until you see the enemy jungler. Now moving on, we're going to move to, well, I guess we can stay in the top lane because you can play Vladimir up there. This is Riven. Now before this patch, lots of Riven players were building Gore Drinker right as their mythic item with Ravenous Hydra and then Black Cleaver. You know, Gore Drink has been such a mainstay mythic for Riven, but actually there's some recent technology where the best mythic for this champion is going Eclipse. The reason being is because with the lethality, you one-shot everyone. Like, it's kind of how Aatrox back in the day, yeah, when you used to go like Dirk into Eclipse. If you land one Q, you actually have kill pressure on the enemy champion, particularly if you're running Ignite. So make sure you do this on Riven as well. So yes, an early Dirk is so problematic for the enemy champion in the top lane. But the fascinating thing here is that if you actually look at Riven's items, when you get Eclipse as your third item, so I'm not even talking like first or second, and your first item should probably be Ravenous Hydra. Once you get it as your third item, remember the mythic passive is going to proc the two major items you already have. So if you get it as your second major item, you're only getting like one round of the mythic passive. But if you go something like Hydra into Black Cleaver and then into Eclipse, this build actually statistically is apparently the best. So consider that in your games, guys. Getting Eclipse as your third major item on this champion. Just yes, proceed this with Ravenous Hydra and Black Cleaver, and Riven's win rate in every single elo because of this Eclipse build has actually gone up. So think about doing this in 13.5 as well as now. Now, staying in the top lane, we have Malphite to talk about as well. And this one is very simple. All we're talking about is actually kind of like just making use of those recent W buffs to Malphite. So all you're going to be doing, if you look at these stats for me, this is in platinum and above across the world, in close to 120,000 matches, all you're doing is maxing your Thunderclap first, which is what Riot gave like a bunch of buffs, right? So by maxing this first, and then by getting like a Frostfire Gauntlet into Sunfire Aegis, you actually just, well, kind of dominate. If you look at the skill priority for me in over 5,000 matches, people who max their W followed by that E and then Q, they win close to 55% of matches. So I know lots of Malphite players might be maxing like their Q first, and you probably should be doing that, by the way, if you're going Comet. But if you're going Grasp because the enemy top lane is very close range, you're going to be able to proc this a lot. Maxing your W is actually really underrated, but obviously really OP, and probably even the best way to play the unstoppable force in the top lane. So think about this, guys, if you're locking in Rock Solid or 13.5. Now we've still got 3 more champions, guys, to talk about in the top lane, because I swear there's like a bunch of top lane builds that come out like every patch. They're super interesting, but this one isn't really the most interesting. The only reason this build is here is just because Cannon in 13.5 is going to be OP. The changes that are hitting Cannon, especially the buffs right to your Q, so the cooldown going down to 4 seconds at level 9 or rank 5. This is exactly the same as Vex's buffs from last year, and also the AP ratio in your Q is going up 10%, exactly the same as Vex from last year. Those buffs really push Vex over the edge into being broken, and I think it's going to do the same for Kennen. Kennen's an awesome top lane champion, especially if you're counter picking him into certain champions. Just yeah, make sure you're picking him as a counter pick, and the build is quite simply just to go Sorcerer Shoes and then Rocket Belt, or vice versa. This build with the extra damage you're going to be getting out of your Q, and remember, you'll be getting more Qs off, which will lead to even more damage, so this will be a nuttier setup in 13.5 for the Lightning Yordle, and I think he's going to be seen a heck of a lot more next patch than what he is right now. But one champion who's seen a lot in the top lane at the moment, guys. And this build isn't really like new or anything. It's just a really OP setup. This is playing Jax, okay? And the Grandmaster at Arms. If you're building Divine Sundra and then building Spear of Shojin, this statistically speaking, I mean, you can see here in Master and above across the world in over 13,000 matches. If you do get to these 3 items, you have over a 62% win rate. Get me out. That is actually insane. And they tried to even like kind of fine tune or nerf Jax a little bit with the recent changes to him. They've done barely that, to be honest, because they give you more AP ratio, like doubled it in your E once you get a max E off, which can happen a lot of the time, right? You one-shot people still just as much as you were before. Now, for sure, your laning phase is a little bit weaker because your empowered auto attack does less damage, but who cares about this when it's the same amount at level 16? In lower elos as well, you should be getting to level 16 in most games, so you can still really make use of this power. But yeah, Jax with Divine Sundra, Shojin, you can even think of going something like Zhonya's after this in the late game to make use of the extra AP ratio on your E. Jax is still such a super broken champion, and he's still banned a heck of a lot as well. So he's got to be mentioned in this video too. Now, the final top laner to talk about, if you don't want to play any of these bruisers or fighters, I mean, we mentioned Malphite as being a tank, right? But maybe the best tank champion to play at the moment is Scion. And the build for Scion, I know lots of people are building Heartsteel, right? Because the actual auto attack damage you deal, it's kind of nuts. But maybe the better build is actually to go Sunflower Aegis, so Barmy Cinder, okay, for the wave clear and actually the trading potential. And then you want after this to go Jax Show. Jax Show in those extended fights is unreal. Makes you unkillable. Legit, champions will find it so hard to deal with you because Jax showed the stacking, the arm, and the magic resistance, and because you're building nothing but HP on Scion through all your items, you will really make use of this. And another interesting kind of development here is getting Titanic Hydra. You can see this as well in Challenger Elo. People are actually doing this because remember, the bonus HP is getting transformed into bonus attack damage. So you will still have enough attack damage to legit threaten champions. If you land just one Q or if you land an E, it can be scary if they don't have any mobility. So Scion is the final top laner on here, guys. And remember, Jax Show, Jax Scion is legit. Now, moving down to the bot lane, guys, this is where the final 4 builds actually lay. So I'm sorry to all you mid laners. I mean, you have Vladimir, I guess, and all you junglers, I'm so sorry. But yes, in the bot lane, what we have, we've got 3 AD carries here. Now, the first of these is Jinx, and kind of like the other champions here who are getting buffed in 13.5. So we talked about Ken and Raya. We kind of talked about how Jax is still going to be strong and Vladimir's getting buffed, right, because of Cosmic Drive. Well, for Jinx, the buffs in 13.5 are kind of nutty, especially the extra attack speed you're getting. This means that Jinx, if you're going something like Kraken into Infinity Edge, which does so well at the moment, there's no reason this is not going to be OP in 13.5. I still think she's a very good champion, even right now, for the rest of 13.4. Next patch, she's just going to be pushed over the edge with this. She's going to be super busted. So make sure you guys are building Kraken and Infinity Edge Jinx for next patch. Now, another champion who loves going Kraken Slayer is Kaisa. But lots of people on Kaisa might be going Infinity Edge. Guys, there's actually a bit of a cut, because guess what you have to be building on this champion? You've got to be building a bit of Navori Quick Blades, mate. This is unreal on Kaisa, because remember, as Kaisa, you have your evolutions, right, with your spells. This means when you get your Q evolved, your Void Seeker evolved, your Supercharge evolved, this means you get more of these abilities off, and it becomes super obnoxious, right? Whether you're even building like some sort of AP variant of Kaisa, this is just huge because you're a Cathian Rain. I mean, it's your big damage threat, right? And getting multiple of these off of multiple enemy champions, you're going to actually just like maximize your DPS in team fights. It's an amazing second item spike. You can see the win rate for me as well. If you look at the bottom here in Master and above, a 55 when you actually do get these items is really respectable. Kaisa at the moment is picked a heck of a lot because of all the engaged supports being picked at the moment as well. So she also fits in with the meta. And another option you guys have as far as like your build setup goes, I guess, is actually taking Ghost as your second summoner spell along with Flash. Ghost gives you the kite you need, especially in the early game, but it gives you insane chase. And yeah, like I said, kite, it just enhances your mobility, and yeah, it scales so well, which is exactly what you do on Kaisa anyway. So it's a really nice summoner spell to have alongside Flash. Now, the final AD carry, guys, to talk about, this is Zerry. Now, I've seen comments on our recent YouTube videos saying Zerry isn't broken. You know, how can you put her in broken tier? Guys, do you know, like, have you played against a good Zerry? Like, I don't know if you guys are playing in like silver or gold, and I don't mean like any offense when I say that, but have you not seen like Zerry players in higher elo play this champion? She's like the most annoying AD carry to play against. Mobility, the actual DPS, also if they have a support with arms, it's very difficult to kill this chick. She's just incredibly powerful right now, and that's why you're still seeing her picked and banned in pro play pretty much. Now, the build I want to talk to you guys about is going Shield Bow, okay? Because remember, this is really useful with Zerry's passive as well. And they're getting Navori Quick Bites, not Infinity Edge, and then getting a Runar's Hurricane. I think this is actually just like the best build across the board. And you can see the stats for me in Challenger. This is the most popular build, and it has a 66% win rate. You are kidding. Now, lots of people in lower elos aren't building this, right? You might be going like Shield Bow still, but you're probably going something like Infinity Edge, right? Or maybe you're getting Navori, but you're getting PD. Runar's is unreal because, at the moment anyway, because of the meta, lots of people are playing close range engaged champions, especially in the bot lane, right? Because Nautilus, Pike, Blitzcrank, they're flying around all over the place. Zerry with Runar's Hurricane, get me out. You will do the most damage every single game if you get to these 3 items. Just make sure, yeah, you be very careful about using your E in the early game. Save this until you get ganked or you know where the enemy jungler is, and you should be sweet. And the final build to talk about here, guys, is a support. And think about the support who got buffed in 13.4, or maybe it was last patch, I actually can't remember, I'm so sorry. But this is Senna, right? Now for Senna, at the moment, her win rate has actually increased by so much because of the buffs, right? Now, as far as your actual build goes, what you can do is you can go Eclipse, Rapid Fire Cannon into an Infinity Edge. And if you look at the stats for me here in Platinum and above, this build has, well, just the highest win rate, and it's built in close to 1,500 games. Now, it's not the most popular build because people are still loving Umbral Glaive, even though it got nerfed. Guys, get Eclipse, Rapid Fire Cannon, Infinity Edge. Just trust me, it is the best setup. If we go to Master Plus, it's still got a 67% win rate. And then if we go to Challenger, it's got a 70% win rate. Don't tell me this build doesn't work. It is nuts on this champion right now. So if you're playing Senna, that's what you've got to build, mate. So those were the 10 champions, guys, and build combinations if you like for today's video. If you have any questions, any thoughts, if you have a build out there that you think is super broken and maybe underrated, let us know in the comment section. And until our future upload, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. This has been X. Peace.